Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Want to start off with souls by giving all praise to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem, Kodash, double honors to the apostles of GMS, and honors you brothers doing the work in truth while sincerity. It's a quick one, simply titled Famine. It says country starting to hoard food, threatening global trade. This is 24th March 2020, 11:30 GMT. So this was late last night, basically the end of yesterday, more or less, that this was published. It's on Bloomberg. All right. It says we're tracking the latest on the coronavirus outbreak and global response. Sign up here, don't want to sign up. So I thought that was part of the news. It says it is not just grocery shoppers who are hoarding pantry staples. Some governments are moving to secure domestic food supplies during the coronavirus pandemic. Kazakhstan, one of the world's biggest shippers of wheat flour, banned exports of that product along with others, including carrots, sugar, potatoes. Vietnam temporarily suspended new rice export contracts. Serbia has stopped the flow of its sunflower oil and other goods, while Russia is leaving the door open to shipment bans and said it's assessing the situation weekly. To be perfectly clear, there have been just a handful of moves and no sure signs that much more is on the horizon. Still, what's been happening and has raised the question is the start of a wave of food nationalism that will further disrupt supply chains and trade flows. Right now, this is off the back of issues in the food chain anyway, right? What we're seeing right now is the all the ingredients of mass hunger, turmoil, destruction. You got people unemployed having to seek help from the government. Now soon you're going to have people that are employed but may not be able to afford food because of a food shortage, having to seek help from the government. Basically end up in a situation where everyone is having to seek help from the government, right? This is what do you call it? This is an old article, right? But it's pertinent, right? It says tons of brother War London camp found this one. It says tons of crops left to rot as farmers struggle to recruit EU workers. Now this is going back to the 11th of October 2019. Right. So this is at the end of last year, right? And then soon after that you get this coronavirus, which is affecting the trade in all different kinds of trade, right? And then you got issues with food going across borders, this, that, and the other. We are heading to some really serious food shortages. We are heading towards famine, but the Lord spoke of these things before, right? And then there's this article, another one here. I'll probably scroll through it once again, and brothers can, what do you call it, take pictures of this. Looks like you have to subscribe. I think I know a load of these paywalled news sites let you view certain free number of articles. So I'll probably scroll because it was kind of like an interesting looking one. This one, it says the pessimist's guide to 2019 fire, floods, and famine. Right, it says it's the end of 2019 and America's bountiful harvest is in. Which I'm gonna have to look into because from what I remember, America's harvest kind of got messed up last year because of the freak weather. But this source is saying that it was okay. But like I said, I don't know how completely accurate that is. Everyone's gonna have to just verify that for yourself. But this is about President Donald Trump is facing a crisis he contemplated the year before a food shortage almost everywhere else in the world, right? So it basically says that everywhere else, more or less, there was a food shortage. This is the end of 2019. America's, I've read that. It says the seeds were sown after an unexpectedly severe El Nino and widespread droughts and diminished food production around the world, roiling trade patterns already broken by a tariff war. Hunger was rampant and refugees were on the move. Attention turned toward North America, where crop yields were ample and supplies plentiful. The US was in a position to help. What would the president decide? What would the president decide? If you are reading, if you're about to read, if what you're about to read sounds far-fetched, remember this. All the weather disasters and most of the policy scenarios described here have happened in the past, just not at once, right? So I'll read some of it, and like I said, I'll just scroll through so brothers can, read to their leisure. It says a shift in the winds. The heat El Nino released into the atmosphere helped push up world's temperatures, making 2019 the warmest year on record. The disruption it brought to weather patterns unleashed floods and droughts, sparking forest fires, displacing people, creating food shortages, and upending energy and commodity markets. Scorching heat in Australia withered wheat crops. Erratic rains cut rice production across the Pacific Rim from India to Japan. The rains that would normally fall over Brazil's agricultural regions gave way to drought, stunting soybean and corn production. Right, so that means those things were lacking. As global stockpiles began to shrink, buyers waited for the harvest in the main two bread baskets that had them being crippled by El Nino, the North American region of the US and Canada, and the Black Sea region of Russia and Ukraine. Says well, and then looks into a 2011 case study. Oh no, you can read into that, I think, rather. So Putin's miscalculation. Drought had already curbed harvest around the Black Sea in 2018. So in Russia there was an issue in 2018, right? It says that tightened domestic grain markets in Russia and Ukraine and heightened global anxiety over whether Russian President Putin would hold his wheat off the global market. He did, arguing that supplies were better used at home, which is true. If you need to feed people, you feed your own people, right? Um, says so. I said I'll scroll up. You both can pause it and read it. Um, Otherwise, be here forever. It says with suffering goes global. With global agricultural trade dwindling and crop reserve dramatically lower, some nations buckled on the Philippines, and inability to procure rice on the world market led to riots in Manila that were brutally put down by President Rodrigo Duterte. So I'm just gonna, I'll just, because I believe you got to pay for this one. So, oh well, the UK crashed out of the EU with no deal in March and became the envy of the continent. Populists from France and the Czech Republic joined forces to end the bloc's passport-free zone, and Italy talked more seriously about exiting the union itself. Right. Right, so that's the end of that one. Right, like so I just wanted brothers to be able to read that should they wish. But yeah, so you see there was basically food issues last year, and it looks like there's gonna be food issues again this year. Right, we just read about the which called EU workers not coming in to pick fruits and stuff over there here in the UK and do the farming. So the UK is looking which call like it's gonna have issues, right? But once again, all of these things are spoken of in the scriptures. Right? So says Matthew 24, must start from verse 6. And you shall hear of wars. The beginning of the year, that's what we heard. We heard of wars and rumors of wars, right, with Iran and the US. Right? So see that ye be not troubled, which we weren't troubled because we knew what the prophecies, or we knew that that wasn't it, because certain prophecies still had to be fulfilled. For instance, scripture says in Jeremiah 49 and 20 that at the least of the flock referring to Israel shall draw them out. So we know that Israel's going to do something that's going to force America's hand, and that's going to help lead us into this third world war. Also, we need the chip, to be that. Right, so for all these things must come to pass. So basically saying, yeah, when these things, basically all the prophecies have to be fulfilled, right? So for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and they shall be famines, right? And that's it, they shall be famines, right? Where we're seeing the pestilences, right now by way of this corona, right? That is one of the pestilences of the Lord. well, no matter how severe it is, whether it's lab made or whether it's natural, right? That is a pestilence of the Lord, right? It says an earthquakes in diverse places. Yeah, you had an earthquake in Croatia, and you had an earthquake 5.3 in Croatia, and I think a 5.2 somewhere in America, right? In diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? So what we're witnessing at the moment is just the beginning of sorrows, right? And we've got this famine that is basically all the ingredients for a good famine, right? Are being prepared by the Lord, right? This is second Ezra 6. I must eat, right? So people might be like, oh, how are you gonna eat? Hey, don't worry how we gonna eat. What about how you gonna eat? Right? We gonna be we gonna be all right. It's Isaiah 65:13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power. Behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right, so, brothers, we gonna be all right, man. Yeah, you people don't worry about us, worry about yourselves, man. Right? And that's the reward for being, and for giving up your life in this world, and doing what the Lord told you to do, which is teach, right? Trying to keep His laws and statutes to the best of your ability, right? Says, behold my servant. So basically, whereas other people going to be getting hungry and dying of hunger and thirst, which all fat shit. I must so I actually need to find this preset. Forgotten how it phrased. No, I don't think I can find it. But basically, it's saying the scripture says it is better to die of the sword than of famine. Roughly paraphrasing, right? It's not die. Is it? It's the last. You get to a place you're trying to find. Yeah, I can't find. I give up. Scripture roughly paraphrasing because I'm just making sure I'm not. Yeah, but roughly paraphrasing says the sword it's better they that die that perish of the sword better than they that perish of famine. Roughly paraphrasing. If my memory serves me correct, right? So it says this is back in Second Moses 16:18. It says the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, right? So what we're seeing is we're warming up, right? Warming up, and Lord's gonna make it such that these things don't slow down. Something's gonna happen. So just like how the um the war, which called the rumors of war with Iran and America at the beginning of the year, right? That was like bam, that was in everyone's face, and bros were excited back then, right? But all the while in the background, right, what did you have brewing? Because this is called COVID-19 for a reason, because it's really started right around November 2019, December out there in Wuhan, right? And then it kind of, or at least that's what they say, and then it basically got spread out from there. But that was all happened on when the whole rumor of war was happening, right? And you never know, there might be something that's happening right now which people aren't paying attention to, right? Which if this does dip down and there's no longer, it's like, yeah, we beat corona. If that if the Lord does make it happen like that, then rest assured something is going to come up, right? Because these things are speeding up, right? Let me say that I believe. Let me say I believe that something, if this does quiet down, this corona thing does quiet down, I personally believe that something gonna follow right after, right? Like this topic is about whether that's the famine or not, we don't know. But it's like, oh, by the way, there's no food, right? Says, and great death, right? And the beginning of wars and the powers shall stand in the fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Right? Behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent for as scourges for amendment. Right? So all of these things are happening on the world stages because people are wicked, man. People have been going off. And the Lord is here to correct things. Right? It says, but for all the wickedness, they shall not turn away from their wickedness. So, for all these things, they shall not turn away from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. All right, so just in what February, people, like even what you call, because I started cycling and everything, so I wanted to basically like when I get back from work, for instance, I used to basically just make a quick little pasta tuna thing, something small, something basically small and light, to have after I cycle back home from work. So at the beginning beginning of March even, I just went to the Asda, bought myself a big bag of pasta. One of them massive bags, a whole load of cans of tuna, a whole load of cans of sweet corn, and then just took it home, right? And then that was, relatively cheap, and that was it. But now try go buy some tuna. Now go try and buy some pasta. You can't find it. Now go try and buy some flour. Now all of a sudden everyone knows how to bake bread. Now all of a sudden everyone knows how to make cakes on their own, right? But all of these things were kind of just left there. Why? Because before, victuals were so good cheap, and they were eating not only just cheap, but they were able to you were able to find them easily, right? So that they shall think themselves to be in good case, right? And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. So famine is brewing, man, right? So for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So it's reminiscent of that scripture in Amos 5. Amos, in fact, let's get that. Right, it says Amos 5 and 18, right, which says, woe to you that desire the day of the Lord Yahweh, right? You get people, oh, can't wait for the Lord to come back. Look, you don't wait, we can't wait, but the back of our minds, we're like, look, man, although things are going, we gonna be all right. Look, we gonna go through some stuff, right? So how much more so these people out there that ain't got the Lord, and they're saying, hey, we can't wait, we can't. No. You have no idea what's coming to you, right? It says, to what end is it for you? Yeah, they're desiring the day of the Lord, right? Not these times they go on, they might see their mama raped, their wife raped, and then they might see their grandmother with a bullet hole in their head, right? They might have to eat their child, right? These are the things that are coming to this world, right? It says, to what end is it for you? The day of Yahweh is darkness and not light, as if a man did flee from a lion, right? So here it is, he just paced, he got out his Usain Bolt, he's sprinting from a lion, got away from a lion, right? And then just as the lion gives up the chase, right, he goes down on his knees. Shit, yeah, I did it, man. And the bear met him. And he's like, fuck, right? And then maybe he gets away from the bear as well, right? He jumps in, he says, or went into the house, right? Bam. And he's resting once again. Fuck, shit, I got away from the lion, or I got away from the bear. He's resting on the wall in the house, leaning his hand on the wall, he gets bitten by a serpent, right? It's a serpent bit him, right? It's shall not the day of the Lord Yahweh be darkness and not light, even very dark and no brightness in it, right? So these are the things that are coming in, in the times of the day of the Lord, right? So I carry on. It says, yeah, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish with famine. So it's actually saying a lot of people gonna die of famine, man. That's a way to go out, man. Right, your body, because when you actually look at the different stages of starvation, right, your brain is selfish. Your brain will basically eat everything else first in your body, right? Where eventually your heart gives out, and then but your brain's still there active, so you're just feeling this pain, you're just going through it, and then eventually you die, right? So basically saying, if you survive all of that, then you'll just get killed by the sword anyway, right? And it says this, and the dead shall be cast out as dung. Right, that's how we know right now. It's just like what we. That's how we know that these are still only the beginnings of sorrows, because it says the dead shall be cast out as dung. Right now, you can still have a funeral, man. Right, but in that day, there ain't gonna be no funerals. Right, people's dead bodies are just gonna be left lying on the streets. Right, it says, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. And the end of this is 2 Ezra 6:28 says, and the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today, and will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son, and did eat him. And I said unto her the next day, give thy son, that we may eat him. And she had hid her son, right? So these are things that were happening in the time of this particular famine, where she boiled her son, like, and then they ate the child. No, that was dinner. And then this woman here that's making the complaint, she was pissed because she like, wait there, we ate my son. So she was basically like, look man, where's your son? Because she feels hurt, right? Now that the other woman's belly is filled, right? She ain't trying to kill her son for food. And then, if this kind of particular instance happens, in the days to come, right, you don't want to give your son, bam, blow the person's head away. Okay, cool, I'll eat you. And then when I find your son, I'll eat your son. These are the things, Esau wants to call us the prophets of doom, man. Look, man, we just telling you how it is, man. Right, we just telling you how it is. These are things that are going to happen. Right, and this is why we particularly, we meditate on these things, because we gonna be living through the midst of these things. What does the scripture say? Isaiah 33:6. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Right? So if we don't meditate on these things, then we won't be in the right spirit. Right? So we must needs think about these things, right? And expect them to come. Right? So as always, Lord's word, I was edifying. To the next time. Shalom.